the concept of success was interesting. I realized I had less anxiety at work and I had more control over what I was doing, but I kind of forgot that I'd achieved anything. So when I sat down and I wrote down all the things, it was 1.5 pages worth of successes. My idea of success was like, if I put my goal for 100%, success is like achieving 125 to 135 of those. And so because I put 3 goals and I achieved like 2.5, that wasn't seen as success because of this little thing I hadn't done. And so I had to start redefining what success is.
ADHD Rewired, episode 80. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Hello, ADHD Rewired listeners. A couple quick announcements before we get started with today's interview. Today's show is released on September 8th, 2015, and there are only a few days left to register for the Fall ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. We are at about 50% full right now. In past groups, we tend to sell out at the very last day. Don't get left out of this group. Also, I'm doing a couple webinars this week for free. I'm going to be talking about productivity, apps, and the coaching group. If you are listening on the day that this is released, the first webinar is today at 1 p.m. Central Time. The next one will be on Wednesday the 9th at 12 p.m. Central Time. And they may also do one on Friday at 3 p.m., but I haven't confirmed that one yet. So if you are not already on my email list, now would be the best time to do it. A couple ways you can do that. Just go to my website at ADHDrewired.com, or you can text to the number 22828, the name Tivers. That's me, Tivers. Again, that's the number 22828. And in the message of that text message, just write Tivers. And then my automated robot will reply to you asking you for your email address. It's really that easy. So just go to ADHDrewired.com or get yourself on my email list, because in addition to getting all the updated information about coaching groups, webinars, all that kind of fun stuff, I have also decided I'm starting to do a short video kind of series and email that I've been doing, and I've actually been kind of having fun with it. So I'm providing kind of quick tips, ideas, just things that I'm thinking about. The videos that I'm sending out are less than 3 minutes long. I would really encourage you to sign up for it. Okay, that's it. Let's get on with the interview. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. I am here in the virtual ADHD Rewired studios in Northern Illinois with my guest, who is on the other side of this spinning ball, Maria Billing. Maria, welcome to ADHD Rewired. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Eric.
So, Maria, it's forgiven that you haven't done your homework and sent me the bio that I get to introduce you with, because we're just going to go with the flow. And so instead of me stumbling over an introduction, I want to just hand that right back to you and ask you to just give us the intro of who are you, tell us kind of where you're from and a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. It's an honor to be here today. Absolutely amazing. I never in my life thought I would be on this show a year ago. That's something we're going to talk about later in the show. My name is Maria. I live in Stockholm, Sweden. For you guys in America, that's like Northern Alaska, but in Europe. And I live here downtown, and I have an accent that's what we call like a cultural tripod, really. I've lived in Yorkshire, England for 15 years and also in Australia. So it's a bit of a mixture, and I've traveled a lot around the world. What else can I say? I got diagnosed a Yeah, less than a year ago in November. So that's 2014. And I work as an environmental engineer. Well, that's the title basically, but I don't work in that, but that's my title. And studied and worked, and it's taken me all over the place. And that's my background.
And you are a world traveler. I always see pictures of you in other places, kind of everywhere. So and that's something you love to do, is go and see new places.
Absolutely. And when I started to know a bit more about ADHD and how the restlessness is, a key feature, shall we say, it's taken me to many places, and I've done so many sports because of it. I think at one count, when I was like little girl until I was like 18, I think I'd done 26 different sports, which, it's interesting. Everything from...
I don't even know if I could think of 26 different sports.
Oh, I tell you what, folk dancing, traditional folk dancing, tap dancing, horse riding,
Marie, I thought
voltige.
I thought
Like voltige, which is like...
When you said folk dancing, I thought you said a dirty word at first.
No. Voltige is like when you do gymnastics on a galloping horse in a circle. Do you know that one? I also football, handball.
And now your football, is that soccer or is that?
Soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, soccer.
Cross Americans.
Yeah, cross Americans. Yeah, athletics. Like, I don't even know. Like, seriously. But anyway, it's taken me to many places. I've done lots of things, so it's pretty good. That's on the good side.
Wow. Okay. And so you and I met through the ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. And I know that was one of the things that we kind of wanted to talk about today, and kind of where your mind takes you, and some of the things that you do, and the things that you're trying to do. And I think both you and I are people who have lots and lots and lots of ideas, and the challenge sometimes is sticking with one and narrowing it down and staying focused when the work gets hard. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, I think you use the term idea hopping.
Yes.
So what are some of the, over the last year or so, what are some of the ideas that you have hopped between?
Yeah, I really like a book that I think it's, what's his name now? Ed Halliwell, Driven to Distraction, but he's also done another one called Driven to Distraction at Work. And it's an amazing chapter in that book called Idea Hopping. I loved it because it is a bit of a story. I have so many creative ideas, and they come to me in the middle of the night, at the daytime, and I do have to do them like straight away. Like it can be 9:30 on a Sunday night, and I, for some reason, decide to start doing sports. And all of a sudden I see, an ad on Groupon that I can start boot camp. And then it says, start tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. And, I ring a friend and I say, hey, Maria, do you fancy, her name is also Maria. I say, hey, Maria, do you know how I tend to have crazy ideas? She goes, yes. What are we doing now? And I say, well, we're going to do boot camp in the morning, the kind of thing when you run around like Army Fitness, in the middle of the, really, really early in the morning at sunrise and it's bloody cold. And she said, yeah, when do we start? And I said, it's tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, that kind of thing. So it's like, you just jump on it and that causes problems sometimes because you just go with it. And then you decide that another idea is a really good idea and another idea is really good. So it's hopping constantly.
So as you learn more about your own ADHD, how have you kind of come to understand this idea hopping, and do you feel like you've made progress with it? Is it something you're still struggling with? A
bit of both, really. In some instances, I think I have made a bit of basically a bit of a system. I've started it quite recently because I have so many. I tend to actually write them down because my whole brain gets overloaded with all these ideas. So I take a A4 piece of paper and write it all down so that it's all down on paper, and then I can look at them in order and see and actually talk it through with a friend because it gets completely messed up in my head. So I sit down and I talk it through with my friend and then decide with a friend or somebody else which one am I actually going to do. But then I do kind of change my mind as well. But at least it's a bit of a system that I got set up. Yeah.
And that's, and we know that managing our ADHD is all about our systems. I mean, that's a huge piece of it. So it's the self-awareness about, here are my tendencies. Our tendencies aren't always, they don't always work in our favor. And knowing how to develop systems and strategies around those tendencies so they don't, bite us in the butt.
True. Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking at our notes because there's a lot of different places that we can go in our conversation. Idea hopping, topic hopping, which is that happens here quite often. You get two people with ADHD on a conversation, and you never know where the conversation is going to go. And so part of this though is sort of the fun of it, but that's also why I have some notes to sort of keep us focused. One of the things that I thought was really interesting, Maria, and we were talking about this recently, when you were in the coaching group, I think you were in the second group, right? And it was towards the end of the group, and you were kind of sharing with the group how you were kind of feeling like a failure, right?
Yes.
And in the beginning of the group, you set out, one of the things you did is you set up some goals that I asked you to do. And I'm actually looking at those right now. You had a organizational goal. You had a goal regarding your home. And you also had a goal regarding some self-development. Do you want to share with us a little bit about like what those goals were?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I got diagnosed not that long ago, and I had no idea that this even existed. I only knew, that things were unbalanced, shall we say, to put it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started looking for information, I came across your podcast and joined the group. And at that point, I had very little awareness of what ADHD is. So as with everything, the first step of change is awareness. Mm-hmm. So I put as one of my key goals was the self-development goal of learning more about ADHD. And as we ADHD people know, when we do something, we don't do something like a little bit. So what I did, I signed up for the ADHD coaching group, which mm-hmm. I thought, because I listened to the podcast and I thought it was great. And I also saw that video about your little flexi book system.
Right.
And at that point, I had no organizational systems in place. I had Post-it notes galore. I really did. I mean, they were everywhere, and there was missed appointments and late deadlines.
Post-it notes are in every ADHD person's survival kit. I mean, you got to have Post-it notes.
And I mean, I had no awareness whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And so the goal around ADHD was that I signed up for the ADD Coaching Academy. They had a course in basic knowledge about ADHD. I listened to the podcast. I bought books online that came, on the topic, and really trying to figure out what is this and how can I make this work?
So you really dove in.
Oh, all in. Like I'm talking a lot of hours every week. Like a lot.
Yeah. I can very much relate to that too. It's like, even in as a clinician, when I decided that I'm going to spend my career working on ADHD and autism, like I've attended so many conferences, I've read so many books, and I'm constantly digging in, because I think that it's one of the things that people with ADHD really, we tend to be masters of some skills. We're definitely not jacks of all trades, at least not very well, anyways. So the idea of digging in and learning as much as you can, and so you're still on this journey, and. So let's take a look at it. So you wanted to increase your awareness of ADHD. You also wanted to, you said you wanted to increase your graphic design skills as kind of your creative outlet, right?
Yeah, that went a little bit so. That was one of my hopping ideas. Okay. And I started it, but it was like a home learning thing. So it kind of, I had took too much on a absolute classic. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed it while I did it, and it has paid off because I do work in my current job. I use those skills even if I didn't maybe do as far as I wanted, but I felt a failure because I hadn't completed that.
Sure. So you felt like a failure, and if we were to just discuss your achievements just in this area, do you want to share some of them?
Yeah, so the 3 goals I had was one around the learning about ADHD. And like I said, I did hundreds of hours, and I did books and the course and the coaching group and the podcast and everything. And that's just changed my life completely. The other one was around organizational skills, not so much skills, like systems. I had no systems. I had no to-do list. I had no synced calendars. My computer was full, just blinking at me, wanting to, shut down, and no backed up pictures. I had pictures on different phones. Systems at work was also all over the place with Post-it notes all over my desk. But I had no idea that this was a problem, because it's always been like that. But then when I learned more, I realized that this is actually, I thought I was used to be good at organizations, because I at times was, because it was such a problem that I kind of overcompensated. Mm-hmm. But through this coaching group and following all the systems basically and learning, I managed to set a system up. And I think the key thing for me there was in my professional work, where I felt I had no control. I had no idea of prioritization and what my key things were to work on that week. It was just the bleeping computer that was, with emails that I wasn't sure if I'd read or not. So that was the key thing. Like I actually felt control in what I was doing at work. And also I actually turned up.
So probably less overwhelmed too.
Yeah, like that sense of control, and also the sense of finding systems so that I didn't constantly have to sit and look at my clock all the time, because I have no sense of time. And I didn't know this. This was completely new to me. And
and you mentioned you call it the FlexiBook system. So it's this what I've kind of created as this I call it like the Evernote flexible. It's a flexible paper planner that uses Evernote. And I think you've kind of made it to your own, and I've made it and evolved that system for my own as well. So this was 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, I started this in February.
Okay.
So February to April this year, 2015, we did the group.
Okay. Are you still using that book?
Every day.
That's amazing. It's. I mean, even me. I recently kind of went on this 2-week I was kind of going to system hopping, where I was like, okay, I'm sort of getting bored of my own system. But then I went back to it because I was feeling very overwhelmed. I didn't have that place to put my ideas, the thoughts, the tasks. And so after spending some time searching for new systems, I kind of had that, just that honest, okay, what am I doing right now? I'm sort of just feeling maybe bored of this. Let me kind of acknowledge it. In the meantime, let me kind of set myself back up for what was working. And I'm so glad that I did, because it works. One little variation that I recently did is, because I think part of what I was doing is I was capturing so much. So I'm actually writing bigger. So it's giving myself actually less space to add things, which is very intentional, because that's one of the things that I've been kind of struggling with over the, probably forever, is I take on too much. Because as, you and I both, we get excited about things and we want to do these more and more things. And then we realize once we're in the thick of it that we've taken on too much. Right. So I'm looking through, though, your achievements, and I just think it's incredible. And what's incredible about it is not just how much you achieved during the course of the group, but that you still had this thought of, I'm a failure. And so when I asked you to write down your achievements, I think that for you was like, oh, I have done all these things. So if it's okay, can I just read a few of it? Yeah. Maria sent me the list of her achievements that she set out to do, and to say that she overachieved in her goal would be an understatement. So she set up her to-do list at work and home. She regularly reviewed her list and set her priorities for her day and week. She planned ahead. She planned February and March ahead, and she learned lessons and applied that to future months. She tried and tested a number of different pieces of software, including Evernote, SimpleNote, OneNote, Real-Time Board, and has been using them to make notes. She bought an iPad and set up and synced her calendars, including her paper calendar. She's managed her appointments. She learned how to use Simple Minds, which is a mind mapping application application that I really like. And in the coaching groups, that's one of the first things we do this big brain dump of getting all of our ideas out of our head using mind mapping. You signed up for Unroll Me, which is an email system that reduces spam, which is awesome. If you haven't used it, I would definitely encourage you to check it out. It's unroll.me. It's a really nice way to automate your email kind of spam filters and the lists that you are on that you want to be on. It rolls it into one email. You backed up your Dropbox and iCloud, which is so important, something that most people, I think especially with ADHD, we think about it when it's like, oh, I should have done that, after it's too late. And you did that. You backed up all your pictures. You bought a paper underlay for your office so you can quickly take notes that you don't want to lose. You spent time every day doing activities that you just like, and so you can also increase your understanding of how long things take. Increase your awareness of time management, your calendar management. You tried and you've been using the Pomodoro technique. Do you still use that?
Not all the time, but I do have the technique if I do have to really crunch and get big deadline done. Yeah.
Okay. You said you tidied up your workstation and your filing system. You bought noise canceling headphones, which you're sporting right now, and I really want a pair of those. And you even had someone one of your colleagues at work who was impressed with your organizational systems. Which is, as someone with ADHD who I've had people say, wow, you're so organized. That feeling of, you have no idea. And so it's partially just like you feel kind of tickled, and at the same time you feel like sort of a fraud, like because you know how hard it actually is. So let me ask you, Maria, hearing me read those accomplishments to you, how what was going through your mind?
I'm thinking this is hard work to listen to. I don't like it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But it's true because I did achieve all those things. But, it's hard to hear yourself in a positive light.
Okay, so it's that kind of that I think flattery and there's this kind of strange anxiety that kind of comes along with it, or it's like it sort of feels uncomfortable. So I definitely can understand that. What thoughts though were going through your mind besides just thinking about the feeling, but were there did you have any of those internal critic thoughts that were going on, or?
No, I think if anything, how quickly it's gone to come a long way. Mm-hmm. And the key thing that struck to me as you were talking, how you just get ideas from nowhere, was the concept of, before I had no concept that that short-term memory, I usually say my brain is like Snapchat, if you know what that is. It's like when you send a text, it's like a picture you can send like a text message and it disappears after 3 seconds.
That,
and people
Maria, is an awesome metaphor. Isn't that the one that was originally used for people to send naked pictures of themselves?
I think so. I think people use it for people that are on Tinder or whatever. But before I realized my brain is like Snapchat, and I didn't write things down, which now, because I always have the book with me. And as one of the things that I remember you saying, and I hear it in my head quite often, the biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we can remember and I write it down later. What a big lie, because I seriously can't. So when I realized that, and so that book really saves me, because it saves me a lot of anxiety. Because I just write it down and I know I'll remember. Well, I know I can just look in there. I don't have to remember things. But that concept of brain Snapchat, seriously.
I love it. No, that's brilliant.
Revolution. It really is.
And did you just think of that, or was that something you thought of a while ago?
That's something that just came to me before, but that's something when I explain to people, because they may look at me funny.
It's a great analogy for working memory. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, because, people tell me here we have a lot of door codes to get into buildings. And,
mm-hmm.
People tell me a door code, but it's gone straight away. It's like Snapchat. It's gone. So unless I write it down there and then, if I just happen to not have a pen with me, it's gone. It's not going to happen. So, yeah.
So what are some of the ways that when you recognize that, I had the thought of, I'm going to remember that, what's your process for talking back to that lie?
It's not so much talking back, is like write it down in the phone straight away. For example, if I don't have pen and paper, I have an iPhone, and then in the notes section, I write it down. And I found a little function as well where you can click on it and talk to it. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to it, it writes it for you. The iPhone have that thing, and that is great.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I do when I'm not by my paper planner is so I use the reminders app on the iPhone, and I'll say, remind me when I get to my office to add whatever the thing is to my planner. So whatever that item is, the actual task that I add to my phone is about adding it to my planner.
Yes.
Did you follow that? You looked confused.
I do follow. I do it like I put it to myself as an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's something I have to remember to do when I come home from work, I'll put it myself as an appointment to myself with a reminder. And then in the notes section, I'll write down what it was I was meant to buy on my way home from work. So it'll tell me when I'm sat on the tube or the underground. You're like, boom, buy, I don't know, washing up liquid or something.
That's awesome. I'm scanning through some more of these achievements, and you had like a page of achievements that weren't even related to your goals, which I think is incredible. And some of the ones that were kind of catching my attention, you had some that were related to relationships, just, spending more time with friends, and which is definitely a common one that people are working on in the coaching groups. But another one that caught my attention was that you had learned to dance Bhangra, which is Bollywood dancing, and you learned to dance help me out here. Kizomba.
Another one of my, I never stop developing. So sports gets boring if I do the same. So at this point, I've tried many other dances already. Bhangra fitness dancing. It's like Bollywood style.
That's
high
awesome.
Energy. And the other one is Kizomba, an Angolan pair dance. I thought maybe, be some fit men there. But anyway, there we go. I tried that. So I tried that. But yes, when I wrote down, because these achievements, I realized I have achieved things in those 3 months that weren't to do with my top 3, because I didn't want to have 3. I wanted like 8.
Did that create any challenges for you?
Yeah, because I wanted to do all 8.
Could you?
Well, I did other ones, but I didn't track them like this. One of the key tracking things I did that I thought was very, very useful, it's the concept of a visual reminder. That was awesome. So for example, one was doing the course, and because it was an online course, it gets kind of boring and I don't really want to do it. So I wrote a big chart on the wall, like a bar chart. And each day I colored every time I did one session.
Like a star chart.
Yeah, like a star chart for children.
Right. But star charts are not just for kids.
No, quite clearly not. It worked anyway. And the visual reminder is really, really good, that I got to cross off as I was succeeding in actually completing something. So that was really good. I think that was, I'm just thinking what else that was on there. Oh, one of the things I realized also was the ADHD and how like nature and exercise can be like medicine.
Talk about that, because I know there's a growing body of research that is talking about how just being out in greenery and outdoors, it really engages all of our senses. And so talk about how that is for you.
For me, I think I've always been what I call myself as a nature nerd. Like I really enjoy being in the outdoors and camping. And I've always said, and this is nothing new, that, when I have trouble sleeping and things in the city, within 3 days of being in nature, without electricity, with just pure in nature, and really stripping back to basics, where you cook food and you go and collect water or whatever, you really strip your life back to basics. And you get up when it gets light and you go to bed, because your body gets tired when it's dark. My body feels really, really amazing. And I do believe, like, that the inner city lifestyle causes for me a lot of trouble sleeping and things like that. So one of my key goals that wasn't meant to be in my top 3 goals, but it was in the ones that I didn't write down, but I did write them down, but on a different piece of paper.
On a sticky note somewhere.
Was to spend a weekend every month in nature, like a nature weekend. And it doesn't have to be camping, but it has to be a nature-based weekend. And that does recharge me to a level that I don't think anything else does.
That's really great. As I hear you say that, I'm thinking, wow, that would be nice if I added that to my own life, because I know how that really recharges me, and being outdoors and being in the Chicago area. We're getting close to winter is coming. Fall's around the corner, and I love fall. I love the seasonal changes, but I hate winter. I get depressed. I get in a funk, and my brain just goes, "Why do I live here?" It's awful. And part of it is the darkness. It's just really bad for me.
Because I'm also thinking, here we have, severe dark in the winter, but something even if you don't go camping, for example, a fire, have a natural fire, a roaring fire.
Yep.
That what the Australians, I love it. They call it bush telly.
Bush telly, I like that.
They call it, should we turn a bush telly on? They go like that. I really like it because, you sit around and there's a roaring fire. But that whole concept, I love it. And it really gets me balanced. And if you mix roaring fire with home cooked food and candles and cut the electricity in the place, and also something that's amazing for me, and I realize for my ADHD is amazing, it's sauna, amazing sauna, and hop in the lake. I don't know if anyone is out there lives in, Minnesota or somewhere where it's a bit like Sweden, but that to me reboots the whole system. Absolutely.
Well, do you like a dry sauna or a steam sauna?
It's kind of wood fired with a window and a view of a nature. That's kind of good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been in a sauna like that. I've only been in the ones that have like a gym at a if you look on Maria's face, it's like, ew, that's gross, and it totally is. But no, yeah. I think that kind of speaks to some of the sensory things that kind of light us up and make us feel good. Speaking of cutting the electricity, I do need to take a break so I can make sure I can pay for all the things that I'm doing here before the electricity gets cut. So Maria, we're going to be right back. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. Have you ever entered a situation, maybe taken a class, read a book, done something where you were hoping to grow with the expectations and desires to learn one thing, but when it was all over, you discovered things that you didn't even know you were looking for, or you learned things that you didn't realize you needed to learn? Laura and Anne-Marie were both a part of my summer coaching group, and when I went back to listen to our final coaching call, I was really struck by the similarities between both Anne-Marie and Laura's feedback and reflections upon this group. So much so that I put it together like this. The first voice you're going to hear is Anne-Marie. The second is Laura. This was shared with permission.
When I joined, my main motivation was I was feeling really stuck and unproductive.
I don't know if you remember in our screening call, Eric, I was like, what I'm not looking for is a therapy group.
And I thought, I've spent a lot of time on personal development and, getting my head in the right place.
I didn't want it to be this hugely emotional thing. I wanted it to be more about coaching and productivity.
And now it's time to really move into action. And so there have been really positive things that way.
But in the end, I feel like it's been more emotional fine-tuning for me.
But what I ended up discovering was I still have a lot of work to do on my being and who I am in the world and who I am with myself.
it's been more emotional fine tuning for me than anything else, which is really helpful productivity wise.
And that although I'd set my sights on productivity, and when I'm able to master my schedule, I will have so much ease in my life. Yeah, no, it's really all here and here in my heart,
which is really helpful productivity wise, but it wasn't what I expected in a good way.
But just hearing everybody else's stories of how their weeks have been, and the whole goal setting with longer term in mind. I tend to do the more immediate goals, but following through on those longer term goals and doing steps to make it happen, I really realized that was an area of growth for me in a huge way, and continues to be.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Anne-Marie, for allowing me to share your experiences with the ADHD Rewired community. Last week, you heard from Kamran, and this week, you're hearing from Maria. In episode 78, you heard from Brendan as he shared with us his analogy of the wall of awful. And if you want to hear more recorded audio clips from people who have gone through this coaching program, I do have some at coachingrewired.com. And I think the people who have wanted and have been willing to share their experiences of the coaching group through this podcast, I think it's the same reason that I do this podcast. Because I've lived through the experience and continue to live through the experiences of knowing how challenging life can be living with ADHD. But I also feel as if it's like my calling that I have to share with others, that when you understand things that we need to help ourselves manage our ADHD, life can be so much better. I think there's something to be said for people who are willing to share with a community like this their experiences of a program like the ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. And of course, I would love to talk with you to see if this group is the right fit for you. But more than anything, and why I'm sharing this episode the way that I am, and why I'm creating it the way that I am, even if you don't join this group, I really want you to think about the importance and the value in investing in coaching or in therapy or whatever it is that you need, whether you're really struggling or you just know that you can be doing better and you really want to be doing better. What better investment of time and money is there for you to invest in you and your growth? Because when you learn, grow, and connect, you are getting your ADHD rewired. Take the next step. Go to coachingrewired.com for more information and to schedule your free 20-minute consultation. Don't wait for registration to close or for this group to sell out. Go to coachingrewired.com. And we are back with Maria Billing. And so we're going to jump right in with talking about success and how we think about success and what success is. I did hear that. Was that your text?
Now it was I have an exercise watch that tells me that I've been still for 1 hour and I have to exercise.
For you, that almost seems like congratulations. You've been still for an hour. All right. So we're going to talk about success and how we think about success. So let's just jump right in there, because, Maria, you are doing a lot of things, and how we measure success has so much to do with our perception and how we think about it. So how has your definition and perception of success changed, over the last year and since you've been in the group?
I think for starters, the first thing is having more awareness of ADHD. The first thing, even before you even think about success, is having more awareness. I've stopped beating myself up about certain things that, whatever it may be. Now, if I know that is a concept or that's a key kind of struggling thing, or a strength or whatever you want to say, not strength, a weakness, then
opportunity for growth.
Yes, I like the opportunity for growth. Absolutely. So the first thing for me really was the awareness around that. And so then I could, so one, for example, was, sorting out all the paperwork or whatever. I was beating myself up that I didn't do it properly and all of that. But it's also, about asking for help, knowing when to ask for help and not feel ashamed to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, when I didn't realize it was a problem, then it was a problem asking for help because I didn't realize it was a problem. But now when I realize, actually, I do struggle, or I can do it, but it takes an awful lot of energy, and other people actually do it really simply. So why not ask for help and not feel ashamed?
Oh, that comparison, that is such an emotional, just firestorm when we compare ourselves to others, because we're often comparing our inner selves to somebody's outer selves, which is not a fair comparison. In regards to asking, have you listened to audiobooks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you listened to Amanda Palmer's The Art of Asking?
No.
Download it today, Maria. It's
all right.
Fan-freaking-tastic. She's a musician, and so what I think this is how audiobooks should be done. Interweaved within the book is her music, and so the Art of Asking. One of the things that really hits home is this idea of, you have to give people the opportunity to help, because people want to be able to help. So we have to get out of our own heads thinking that we're imposing on people by asking people for help. So it's offers a really encouraging perspective on the idea of asking for help.
And I think so. That was the kind of the first area, is the identifying the areas that needed that I could do with help, or maybe dare ask for help, and also maybe not knock myself down as much in those areas, but also the areas of success, because I am a very high achiever, and I am more like a rib boat. In terms of speed, more like a cruise liner.
A what boat?
A rib boat. One of those really high speed boats that you have, like
a speedboat.
Yeah, like a speedboat, but you have to have like a seatbelt, and they put 28 people all together, and they have to go really, really fast, and it's like a adrenaline tourist attraction. One of those they have in theme parks.
I don't know if I have one of those around here. Yeah,
they have them in some kind of tourist areas, but that's more like me, But more than the kind of the cruise liner. That's kind of boring, but. So the concept of success, it was interesting when you asked me, you said, I haven't really achieved my goals. It was a waste of time. But I realized I had less anxiety at work, and I had more control over what I was doing. But I kind of forgot that I'd achieved anything. So when I sat down and I wrote down all the things, it was 1.5 pages worth of successes. 1.5 pages. It was ridiculous. And then I thought, wow. And I remember you saying something very wise that's been with me since, actually. It was my idea of success was like, if I put my goal for 100%, success is like achieving 125 to 135 of those. And so because I put 3 goals and I achieved like 2.5, that wasn't seen as success. But also then I did other things during this 3-month period that wasn't even to do with my 3 goals, because I had, like I said, I had another 5 that were kind of hidden, and I achieved quite a few of those. But I still didn't see of success because of this little thing I hadn't done. And so I had to start redefining what success is. But I think the key concept also of writing down at the end of the week, when I plan my week and then I do my week, but then sit down and write down my successes of that week. That's kind of a way that I can visualize and remember what it is. And because I never used to do that, because I was always looking for the next project that wasn't completed, always looking what I haven't done.
I was, as you were saying this, I was thinking about, so I in the last, 6-7 weeks, I've been involved in I'm part of a weekly mastermind group, with a bunch of other podcasters, who are all in kind of different areas of business. And one of the first thing that we do when we check in with each other is we share our wins, for the week, and any kind of tips or strategies that might be helpful, to kind of generalize for everybody else. And, the last 2 or 3 weeks, really, I kind of had the same feeling that I think you were having it, so it forced me to write down, okay, what have I accomplished? And so I remember the last 2 weeks, I was like, wow, I've actually had a pretty killer of a week. And like, I just got a lot of big items done, and some of the smaller things that I tend to put off, got those done. And like, when I look at those things and I realize how much of my mindset is involved and how many of like just specific strategies are involved, it's so easy to lose sight of it, because like once you're done, you're done. But when we can kind of group it all together, so I just think it's a really important. It's been important for me. I think it's been valuable for the members of the coaching groups, is being able to share those wins, and not just look at one of my goals was to record 3 videos this week, and I recorded 2. Well, one of my goals for the week prior was to record 3 videos, and I recorded 0. So I look at it as that's success. I made a big dent kind of in that goal. So that perfectionism, that's why, a lot of people that I work with will say, well, I want to do it 7 days a week, 100%. I'm like, okay, let's kind of slow down a little bit. And, because people want it so bad, because this feeling of failure, it sucks. It's an awful feeling. But, and I've said this quote, I'm sure many times on the podcast, the Zig Ziglar quote, that failure is an event, not a person. And, I just think it's something that just resonates with me so much, because I'm such an expert failure, because I do it so often. And when I've learned to take ownership of that, it can say, okay, what can I learn from everything that doesn't work? And when I look at it through that way, it's like I'm constantly learning, and that lights me up. So instead of feeling defeated by things that don't work out, I'm actually energized in a sense by things that don't work out, because I have that growth mindset that's really kind of allowing me to take everything that I can from something that doesn't work and make something else work.
I like that. Yeah.
And it sounds like go ahead.
Yeah, no, another thing that I remember that I use, it's that concept of, what you're trying to achieve that week, for example. It might be, I don't know, I'm going to do a presentation or something. But it's that question that comes after that I do use, frequently, is what is the barrier? Because I never thought of that before. I just thought of what I haven't done. Like, what's the barrier of not that's going to stop me doing that thing? Because really, I need to get rid of that barrier in order to allow myself time or freedom or flexibility or not being exhausted or whatever. But I never thought of that second question before. And for me, I think it's been a really good deal breaker, because sometimes I used to sit down and wanting to do something, but it never happened because I procrastinated. But then if I look at it, well, I always tried to sit down when I was hungry, fatigued, exhausted, done a long day in the office, I haven't had dinner. Well, I'm not really setting myself up for success here.
Right. So having that awareness of what do you need in order to move forward, and what are those things that are kind of getting in your way.
Mm-hmm.
One of if we can kind of maybe shift sort of gears a little bit here. I'm just trying to be mindful of time. Share kind of with us a little bit about ADHD in Sweden. Because I just think it's interesting, and the things that you've shared with me have been very just interesting. And so I think it's you have obviously a unique perspective that a lot of the people who are listening don't have.
Yes, so I guess my way is slightly different to many others. Maybe I think because I have lived in many different places and therefore I have an open mind. So when I realized, when I found out about ADHD, it was like I struck gold, because it was getting me a lot of answers. I started reading some of the Swedish websites and books and so on, but I didn't find that many solutions. More maybe explaining what it is, and this is what it is, and that kind of thing. A little bit focused on solutions, but not so much practical advice. Mm-hmm. So I looked around, lived in England and Australia. I Googled and searched for those websites, and I came across a Scottish ADHD coach. And for the first time when I spoke to her, it was like she could complete my sentences. that I'd never come across that before. It was amazing. It really opened up my world, and that really like got me onto a different path. I also looked here what people are doing, and I'm sure it's all very good, but it just wasn't for me. I couldn't relate. I really want to follow the footsteps of someone who is having a very functional life, someone who has understood the strengths and the weaknesses and use them and trying to make the most of it, really. And that's, to me, is following someone who is living that way.
Mm-hmm.
And something else I've found is I have not found I get very good connection or help unless the other person has a gift, shall we say, some type of diagnosis of some letters of some description. Very difficult to actually relate to that person and for that person to help me. I feel more like looked down upon or belittled. And things like that, and the awareness maybe not so positive. So for me, it was a very positive experience to talk for somebody for the first time with someone with ADHD, and that's how I found out about the podcast, because I didn't have to read; I could just sit and listen, So that was an interesting experience, and I've since come across. I have quite a few people now that come to me because they say, "Oh, you have this thing." I'm like, "Yeah, I do, full blown," and but I've found ways. I still have a way to go, don't we all? But I have found ways to do it a different way.
Maria, I think that we will always still have a ways to go, and that's to me, that's exciting, because if we always have a way to go and we're always in that growth mindset, that means we are continuously growing and achieving, and our aim is, going to be further out. And it's like, so to me, it's exciting. It's not about necessarily like that we get there, but it's what do we learn on the journey?
Exactly. And I think also when I have spoken to other people, they're trying to, they do their best and they're really trying to help. But I think without that thorough life understanding, it's very difficult to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If I say, "Oh, I really struggle with structure at work," and they said, "Well,
I'll just write a list."
I just write a list, exactly. And I'm like, "Well, that's why I'm here. Hello." And but if I can get the tips of the book and the apps, and someone that can actually share the same challenge that I've had and not make me feel belittled because I am struggling with this thing, that is just going to make a world of difference.
So let's kind of bring this ship in for a landing. I don't think that's the right analogy. The plane in for a landing, ship in for help me out, Marie. I'm having a Balky moment. Remember
bringing the horses home.
Do you remember the show? Was it Perfect Strangers? And
no, I don't watch telly.
It was like when I was a kid. So it was like where this. I don't even remember all I remember is this one character, Balky, who would like really like botch like American expressions and idioms. So I was just having a Balky moment there. And I should stop talking on this because this section right here is a complete train wreck. So we're going to bring it in for the last part of the show, which we call the random question round. This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then paradoxically has everything to do with ADHD. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Give us your invention or improvement upon something existing.
Whoa. Invention. I think it would be something so that mosquitoes don't bite me.
I would buy one.
I would buy one straight away.
And my wife would too. And make sure they're in sizes for toddlers too, because when my son gets bit, he picks and it's awful. I like that. And by the way, you looked really surprised when I asked you that question, which makes me think the story I'm telling myself, if I can kind of borrow a phrase from Brené Brown's new book, The Rising Strong, the story I'm telling myself is that you've never made it to the very end of a podcast because you look like that you did not see this question coming.
No, it's true. I listen because I know it's got nothing to do with ADHD, but everything to do about ADHD. I know that bit. But, it's about that idea of concept hopping, that it's like, what? We're talking about something else now because my brain is talking about what we just talked about. You can't just hop like that because I'm still in the last bit.
the tube is leaving now. How was my accent? Was it how bad was it?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. I can continue it, and you can continue to judge my accent and see how it is.
It's very good, Eric. It's very
you're
good.
so lying, and thank you. Okay, next question, which I have not thought of yet. All right, I got it. You like to travel, right?
Yes.
So the Maria Billing all-inclusive vacation tour ADHD style. Tell us what it is.
I tell you, it's easy, I think, because any movement is awesome. Movement, and it's got to be faster than walking pace. It's got to be minimum rolling blading pace.
So where are we going and how are we getting there? Tell us the attractions. It's an actual vacation tour.
Yeah, I've heard about this race and I still want to do it. It's called the Mongol Rally. You have to buy a car and it's got to be like a shit heap, like a terrible car that doesn't cost a lot of money. And then you buy it and you do it up a little bit. And then you do this thing called the Mongol Rally where you have to drive it with some friends from, I think it's England somewhere, to Mongolia. Like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and all this. And you have to do challenges along the way, and you go with other people. And I think that'll be a fabulous trip. And it's like 6 weeks. And you might get there, you might not get there. And if your car breaks down on the way, you hitch a ride or something, But I think any movement is really, really good. My best holidays have all been movement holidays. I've driven by myself across Australia as well in a 4-wheel drive. And that's just, how you wake up in the morning and movement is the way to go. Like you got to keep going. It's great. But also that's undiagnosed ADHD.
I'm just imagining this trip and it's, wow.
I think that I think why I think I would enjoy it is because it's lots of people traveling together, so a sense of community, but a sense of adventure, sense of the unknown, variation, and being in a car with people you actually like, and also the movement. And also you tend to, I would imagine, you go on a lot of roads where there's not a lot of traffic, and that would be amazing as well because that's peaceful.
What's one adventure that you have not gone on yet that's on your bucket list, if you want to call it that?
The Mongol Rally is one. And I think also to drive some type of tuk-tuk across India, I think is one.
Bless you? Drive a what?
I don't know what they call it in India, but like a tuk-tuk or a rickshaw. It's like a 3-wheeled vehicle with like a Lawnmower type engine.
Okay.
So
I'm getting so cultured just talking to you, Maria.
I don't think charter holiday is gonna do it.
No, definitely an off the beaten path type of vacation.
I think it'd be great.
All right. I'm trying to think if there's any other question I can pull out of my the random part of my brain, which typically works really well, except for when I'm like really trying to use it.
I hear you.
Because when I first started this idea of the random question round, it was because I tried planning these questions and it just wasn't feeling fun and spontaneous to me. But now that the whole notion of it is be spontaneous about it, my brain's recently been like going sort of blank on it. So I don't know. Maria, here's my last question. If I could make a change to the random question round and make it something different, like just another fun part of the show, but just maybe completely different, what would it be?
I don't know. For some reason, 3 words, like somehow to interlink 3 words. I have no idea why, but sometimes something tells me to like interlink 3 things.
Like tomato, school bus, and moon.
Yes, to me that sounds like a story that's in a children's book. A tomato in the lunchbox that goes on the school bus, And then when you get to the school, then they do the story time, and then they read, about, I don't know, in Sweden we have like a little, we have a story, a famous children's book called Pet Son, and I think that's the cat and a guy. Anyway, but he makes pancakes over the fire or something, and I think he goes to the moon. I'm not sure. But that, to me, that's how my brain works.
I like it. No, that's a great idea. I'm really going to, I'm going to think about that. If I actually write it down, I might actually implement it. Because
like how the brain hops between different things always.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always been good at making patterns and connections between unrelated ideas. Just because it sounds fun when you throw one at me. Yeah, throw me 3 ideas, like 3 things.
3 ideas?
Yeah, three words.
Concepts?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 concepts for you. Boat, Snoopy, the 1980s character, and a rucksack.
And a what?
And a rucksack, a backpack.
So because my brain's like Snapchat, I have to write these down.
A boat.
Snoopy.
Snoopy, the character, and a backpack. How do they relate?
Well, what was like? I know who Snoopy is. What was his like character? What was his like his avatar, if you will?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Something with Charlie Brown and a blanket.
Yeah. So one day, Snoopy was really tired of constantly being in the doghouse, so he decided to pack his bag. He hitched a ride and took off on the next ferry boat leaving town.
There you go.
Okay. I think we might have something here. This is fun. It's sort of like an improv game. I mean, that's fun. All right, Maria, we're gonna bring it in for a landing now. Let people know how they can reach you, if you want people to reach you. Otherwise, thank you and goodbye.
Sure. You can reach me probably. Put a link down below on LinkedIn. That's the way to find me, really. I speak Swedish, English, whatever, German also. Call me or email me or whatever.
All right, so you'll send me the information you want to share, and we'll post that in the show notes. And
yes.
Maria, would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Now, how many languages do you know?
Oh, I speak 3.
Okay, and besides English, will you say in the other languages that you know that you've been listening to ADHD Rewired?
Hang on, I have to think about what Rewired is in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I got it.
Go for it.
Okej, jag har lyssnat på ADHD omkopplat.
That was amazing. Okay, so what language was that?
That was in Swedish.
Okay, that was Swedish. That was so cool. And what's the other language you know?
But I'm thinking about omkopplat. It's like rewired. But I guess, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it would be in German, like the rewired bit. I don't know. I haven't done that bit.
Make something up.
No.
No. I don't have a difference. You can insult me and my mom, and I wouldn't know. I'd be like, that's awesome.
No, I don't know anything about ADHD in German yet.
Okay, and I would say that you probably couldn't say it in France because according to the French government, ADHD doesn't exist in France.
Nej, men man kan göra så här också. Man kan prova något helt annat och lyssna på ADHD omkopplat. Det är så jäkla bra. You like that bit? I just say, why don't Swedish people try something different and listen to your podcast?
Awesome. Maria, thank you. This was so much fun. I always enjoy talking to you. You're always fun to talk to. Thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations on all your success. And you're doing some really just incredible, inspiring work. Don't forget to write down your accomplishments because you're trailblazing. So, thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You can see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please, go to erictivers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictivers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox because I screen everybody before they come into our community. Looking for a coach? If you're still listening at this point and you answered yes, come to my website at ADHDrewired.com and schedule your free 20-minute consultation, or call me at 224-993-9450. Is your school, business, or organization hiring speakers? I provide fun and engaging presentations full of practical solutions that both educate and entertain. Hire me for your next professional development day or corporate training event. Go to ADHDrewired.com/talks. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.